Greetings, class, and welcome to Module 1. I hope that everyone had an opportunity to review the orientation tutorial. As a reminder, we do have a discussion this week. You are responsible for responding to the discussion prompt as well as responding to two peer posts. Now, ideally, your posts would occur on different days of the week. We do like to see participation as much as possible throughout the week. But let's go ahead and talk about the readings for this week. The chapters look at several ethical theories, and those ethical theories are used as a way to guide as a guide to a good life and as a way to potentially solve ethical dilemmas. We know, right, that ethics provides us a moral compass for decision making, and this was never so evident as during the pandemic, right? With questions related to triaging as well as questions related to the allocation of resources. Ethical theories are useful as a tool, again, when there's public controversy. They help us maintain consistency, right? Maintain consistency. Now, some ethical theories do work better in some situations than in others. And there are a different number of ethical theories. Ethical theories can be broken down into two broad categories. These are character-based ethical theories and action-based ethics. So when we talk about character-based ethical theories, this is the ethics of being you or who you are. Um, so character-based ethical theories are really asking who is a good person. Who is a good person is at the center of ethical reasoning. And with this theory, you think about the cardinal virtues. What makes someone good? Is it that they are compassionate? Is it that they are courageous? The concern with character-based ethical theories is that they are subjective. When we look at action-based, this is the ethics of doing. We have action-based ethical principles, and this category is broken down into two smaller categories. Deontological ethical theories are based on duties and obligations. So a good example would be the Ten Commandments. Now, what are the weaknesses of duty-based ethical theories? Well, one of those is that duty-based ethical theories do not take into account the circumstances you are in or anything to that regard. So the weakness of duty-based ethical theory is that it does not think, again, about the circumstances you are in or the consequences of your action. So, for example, imagine someone breaks into your home and they have a weapon and you are fearful and therefore you draw your weapon. Because they have also drawn their weapon. And so you shoot. Your actions are considered immoral and wrong because of the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill. But the circumstances are not considered. And so when we look at the ethical theory, your actions are not justified, no matter the circumstances, because again, circumstances are not considered. When circumstances are considered, then we're using ontological ethical theory. Ontological ethical theory, this is a good example. Say when you create a list of why or why not you should do something. This can be broken down into two different types, utilitarianism and consequentialism. The weakness is how do you compare outcomes? Who's to say who is absolutely good or what is absolutely good or immoral? The second half of the chapter explores the principle of biomedical ethics as virtues. I want you to be familiar with the four principles which aid healthcare professionals. Of course, these include autonomy, which we know is the freedom to choose, non-maleficence, means to do no harm. Now, this does not mean that there is no risk, and we must weigh beneficence, which is promoting the patient's best interest, versus non-maleficence. Justice is the other principle, and this is the distribution of medical care services equitably, and is by far one of the more complex principles. Um, Pay close attention as you read more about healthcare ethics and how the different ethical theories come into play. You will read more about conditions that must be met for autonomy, and I want you to be familiar with those, including competence, as well as those conditions that must be or rather the two types of justice. Be familiar with the two types of justice. And finally, as we move further along in the readings, you will see an introduction to the reflective equilibrium model. Now, our discussion question does pertain to the reflective equilibrium model, so I'll hold any discussion on that until we're online. But if you have any questions, please do let me know. Now, the chapters within Module 1 are important for a good foundation as we move forward over the next 8 weeks. And many of these principles you will return to as you complete Assignment 1 and Assignment 2. Just a note, if I pose a question in the discussion forum and you respond to that question, that does count as a pure post because sometimes I will post questions. And also note, if I do pose a question within your thread, you are not obligated to answer and anyone may respond. Again, it does count or it will count as a peer post. Let's establish a good foundation as we move forward. I know that the principles within these chapters will be carried further, and you will take those principles and demonstrate understanding and synthesis of those within your assignments. So please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much.